We remember the American Revolution as a fight for freedom, filled with images of brave soldiers and stirring ideals, but beneath the heroism lies a less-told story. The revolution was also about money. The colonists weren't just seeking liberty, they wanted financial independence from a system that kept them poor and Britain rich. Economic control, debt, and taxes were at the heart of the conflict. The struggle for independence was as much about who would control the wealth of a continent as it was about political ideals. This financial battle shaped the course of the war and the future of the new nation. The ideals of liberty were powerful, but ideals alone didn't pay for soldiers or buy weapons. The revolution was a costly gamble, and its outcome depended as much on finances as on the battlefield. By following the money, we see how the high-minded principles of the Declaration of Independence were tied to the messy realities of economics. The story of America's birth is deeply intertwined with the story of its finances. Understanding this hidden financial engine gives us a more complete picture of how the United States came to be. The Revolution was not just a battle of ideas, but a fierce struggle over economic destiny. This is the story of how a revolution was financed, and how that financing shaped a nation. Let's look beyond the famous battles and political speeches. Let's uncover the money behind the revolution. The roots of America's financial grievances began with Britain's victory in the 7 Years' War. The war left Britain with massive debts, and Parliament looked to the American colonies to help pay. For years the colonies had governed and taxed themselves, but now London imposed new taxes, the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, and more. Colonists, with no representation in Parliament, saw this as taxation without representation. The British argued the taxes were fair, but for colonists, it was about power and rights. Economic control from afar felt like an attack on their property and liberty. The response was swift boycotts, protests, and the rallying cry of "no taxation without representation." These taxes united colonists across regions and classes. Parliament repealed some taxes, but insisted on its right to tax, deepening the conflict. The financial dispute quickly became a struggle over who controlled the colony's economic future. The British underestimated colonial resistance. The seeds of revolution were sown not just in political philosophy, but in the pocketbooks of everyday Americans. The financial conflict would only grow more bitter. The fight over taxes was just the beginning. Economic grievances would soon fuel a full-scale rebellion. The colonies' demand for financial autonomy became inseparable from their demand for freedom. The revolution was as much about money as it was about independence. The tax conflict was part of a larger system, mercantilism. Under mercantilism, colonies existed to enrich the mother country. British laws forced Americans to sell raw materials to Britain and buy British goods, even at worse prices. The Navigation Acts made colonial trade a one-way street, stifling opportunity and growth. American merchants and artisans wanted to trade and manufacture freely, but British rules blocked them. This economic straitjacket bred frustration and resentment. Wealthy elites and ordinary farmers alike saw their prosperity capped by British interests. The desire for economic freedom, control over trade, industry, and destiny became a powerful motivator. The mercantilist system wasn't just unfair in theory, it hurt people's daily lives. Lower crop prices, higher consumer costs, and blocked industries pushed colonists toward revolution. Economic frustration united diverse groups in the fight for independence. The quest for financial self-determination was at the revolution's core. Another source of tension was the shortage of hard currency, gold and silver in the colonies. Trade imbalances drained coins to Britain, leaving colonists struggling to pay debts and invest. To cope, colonies issued their own paper money, backed by future tax revenues. This worked for a while, but British creditors distrusted colonial paper and demanded payment in pounds. Parliament responded with the Currency Acts, banning colonial paper money. The result: economic contraction and widespread hardship. Farmers faced foreclosure, merchants went bankrupt, and the economy stalled. Colonists saw this as a deliberate attempt to strangle their prosperity. The Currency Acts united rich and poor in opposition to British control. Control over money became a rallying point for independence. The fight was not just for political rights, but for the right to manage their own economy. The struggle over currency made the revolution personal for many. Economic hardship turned abstract grievances into urgent demands for change. Money, as much as ideology, fueled the drive for independence. When war broke out, the Continental Congress faced a dire financial crisis. With no power to tax or gold reserves, they printed paper money, Continentals, which quickly lost value. The army was underfunded, soldiers went unpaid, and the war effort teetered on collapse. Desperate, Congress turned to Europe for help. Diplomats like Benjamin Franklin sought loans and supplies, not just recognition. France, eager to weaken Britain, secretly funneled money, weapons, and supplies to the Americans. This lifeline kept the army in the field during the darkest days. Spain and the Dutch Republic also provided crucial loans and support. Dutch bankers supplied millions in private loans. Foreign money became the fuel that kept the revolution alive. Without European cash and arms, the American cause might have failed. The war's outcome depended as much on secret shipments and quiet deals as on battlefield heroics. The revolution was truly an international financial gamble. The hidden flow of foreign gold shaped the fate of the new nation. The American victory was as much a triumph of diplomacy and finance as of arms. The revolution's survival depended on the world's willingness to invest in its success. Foreign aid was vital, but the revolution's daily survival often depended on a few key American financiers. Robert Morris, a Philadelphia merchant, became the nation's first de facto Treasury Secretary. He slashed spending, stabilized currency, and used his own credit to secure loans and supplies. Morris even paid for army provisions out of his own pocket before Yorktown. Haim Salomon, a Polish-born broker, worked tirelessly to raise money and arrange loans from France and the Netherlands. Both men risked their fortunes for the cause, often without repayment. Their financial genius kept the army fed and the government afloat. These unsung heroes remind us that victory required not just soldiers, but also those willing to bet everything on independence. The revolution's financial front was as critical as any battlefield. The foreign loans that saved the revolution came with a price. After independence, the United States owed millions to France, Spain, and Dutch bankers. Under the weak Articles of Confederation, Congress couldn't tax and struggled to pay its debts. The nation's credit collapsed, and European creditors doubted repayment. This financial instability threatened America's reputation and security. Leaders like Washington and Hamilton feared foreign interference if debts went unpaid. The inability to manage debt was a key reason for creating a stronger central government. The Constitutional Convention of 1787 was driven by the need for financial stability. The new Constitution gave the federal government power to tax and manage finances. The legacy of war debt shaped the very structure of American government. The price of freedom was not just paid in blood, but in a mountain of IOUs. The revolution's financial aftermath forced America to reinvent itself. With the Constitution in place, Alexander Hamilton became the first Secretary of the Treasury. He proposed a bold plan: the federal government would fund the national debt and assume state debts from the war. This would bind the states together and create stable national credit. The plan was controversial. Southern states had paid off their debts and resented helping others. A compromise was struck. The capital would move to the South in exchange for debt assumption. Hamilton also created the Bank of the United States to manage government funds and issue currency. Jefferson and Madison opposed the bank, fearing centralized power, but Washington sided with Hamilton. Hamilton's system restored public credit and stabilized the economy. It laid the foundation for American capitalism and a strong federal government. The financial system he built would shape the nation for generations. The Revolution's debts became the backbone of a new economic order. Hamilton's financial system made America credible, but it also sparked fierce political divisions. The struggle over debt and the national bank led to the first political parties, Federalists and Democratic Republicans. The government's power to tax was tested by the Whiskey Rebellion, proving its resolve. The lessons of the Revolution's financing echo today. Wars are won with money as much as with arms. Financial entanglements shaped foreign policy, as debts to France influenced later decisions. Economic tools, loans, aid, sanctions, remain powerful in global politics. The fight for economic independence continues for nations worldwide. America's story is a reminder that ideals and practical needs are always intertwined. The revolution was a battle for liberty and for economic self-determination. The financial secrets behind the revolution enrich our understanding of its challenges and achievements. America was born not just from ideals, but from the hard realities of money, debt, and credit.